Hello guys, and today Russia lost its last AN-22, that is a huge cargo aircraft they were actively using for the supply of the Russian army. But I have to confess, unfortunately, we have nothing to do with the destruction of this Soviet relic. It's all the age and active usage of this very old, more than 50 years plane on the front lines. It collapsed in the air, it started dissolving according to the reports coming from Russia, and it only proves the state in which both their military and civilian aviation is now. They don't have enough money, they don't have enough aircraft, and they don't have enough people. You know that Putin is very much afraid of open general conscriptions, but he also does not have money to pay Russian war criminals who decided to join their army on contracts. That's why he begins testing the population, and he actually signed a decree to begin military trainings in January of 2026. It is for the first time in many years that Russia announces these trainings in winter that are always very cold and dangerous for these trainees. What is also interesting, the decree itself has a lot of classified paragraphs, which only proves there are some decisions that the Russian population won't like, but Putin needs to make them. The protests may come because at the very beginning of the failed blitzkrieg in 2022, he tried to conscript people openly to announce general mobilization, and then millions fled Russia. So let's have a closer look at what this decree means and why it actually proves both that Russia has serious troubles with their army and that they are not prepared to stop this war. I know sounds paradoxically, but that's exactly what the Kremlin regime is about. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Putin in The Hague, subscribe and I'm sure we will have a really good video from The Hague, from that court sometime really soon. And let's start with this fresh news about the collapse or the dissolution of the Russian military cargo aircraft AN-22. That is a very big machine that Russians were actively using for the delivery of big military cargoes. And according to their internal reports and Telegram channels, these planes started to dissolve while still in the air. 7 people of its crew joined the majority of the Russian army, and you can guess they are in hell. And this simply demonstrate the state in which their army is, in which their aviation now. After the success of the Ukrainian spider web, when we took down at least 1/3 of their cruise missile carriers, we continued targeting separate MiG, separate Sus, but Russians are also good at the destroying of their own planes. And that's exactly what we witness. Inability to provide the necessary maintenance, extremely active usage of the leftovers of the Soviet aviation. Because another thing we have to remember, most of the weapons, missiles that they actively use, tanks, aircraft, they were all designed and built in times of the USSR, in times of the Cold War. And they are not competitive with the NATO countries. And more people inside the Russian army are talking about this. And if you want to learn more about this inside conversations, do check my new video on Anna Danilchuk channel, where we do have some reports of the Russian generals and captains criticizing Putin's failed military weapons programs. So AN collapsed just to support this fact, and definitely recently there was one more accident that I actually did not report about because it's just like a horror movie. But in one military aircraft, I don't know why, while it was still in the hangar in a hidden place, the crew decided to eject themselves, what's the right word, when in case of emergency you do it, and they literally smashed themselves. Well, karma is working, and please share these videos to spread the truth about the state of the Russian army so that Donald Trump does not repeat this BS that Russia cannot be defeated because it's big. Big Russia, big problems. Small Russia, small problems. And we know what we want: to defeat this beast and to protect a lot of freedom-loving peoples that gain their independence. And Russians understand they are losing. They need more and more people. And Putin is very much afraid of the general conscription. Why? Because they have this silent agreement inside the Russian Federation that his population does not interfere much in the crimes he commits and the corruption he commits, but at the same time, he does not touch them. He does not want anything from them. And he does not conscript them. He only offers contracts for people from depressive regions, and these regions are made depressive by Putin's economic mismanagement, but that's a separate topic. And when he first tested the idea of this general mobilization at the beginning of 2022, when it became evident that they've lost their initiative, that they failed the blitzkrieg, that they underestimated the enemy, and that their intelligence was failing, Russians started fleeing the country, and millions moved to Georgia, to Turkey, to Finland, to the Baltics, and I hope they do not interfere much into your internal affairs with their Ruski Mir approaches. But he clearly understood that this is something that can shake his regime, and if it touches people in Moscow or St. Petersburg, it can have deadly consequences for the Kremlin. But now, when the Russian budget is empty, they have trillions of debts, and regional budgets already have the payments for the Russian war criminals in the army on contract, so they do not receive the promised sums. They keep disappearing on the front lines, their families do not receive payouts, there are lots of problems, and with each day, the value of the Russian ruble is falling. The stagflation is huge. So literally, the only thing that attracted them to join the Russian army, no, it's not ideology, no, it's nothing moral, it's just the desire to earn, to loot and earn. They are losing this benefit and they stop joining the army. And Putin needs to solve this problem because he cannot end the war. This will end his regime. He cannot explain his failures. That's why he wants to continue. He does have plans to attack some NATO countries, EU countries that were part of the Russian Empire once in their bad moment in history. So he started testing this mechanism of conscription by signing a decree about the military training, winter military training for the reservists. And first of all, the unusual thing about this decree is that the trainings begin in January. Usually, Russians conducted them in May, June, July, when the weather is more comfortable. Second, there are classified paragraphs in that decree, and many believe that they are hiding the number of people who will be very much invited to join these trainings. And it's Russia, baby. You can never know what happens to you after you finish these trainings. Maybe you can end up in one brigade with North Korean soldiers, doing missions that will lead to your effective demilitarization by the Ukrainian defenders. So I'm sure the very idea of this decree is already a great threat to the Russian population. And if he announces conscription, that will lead to serious protests, because we already see that Chechnya, Bashkortostan, Tatarstan, those republics that in the 90s tried to proclaim their independence, those republics that now pay a very high price for the Kremlin's failed blitzkrieg, already have doubts. They don't want to pay that much to their veterans. They see problems in their local budgets. They realize that this isolation of Russia, that problems with oil refineries, with export of natural resources leads to extreme poverty in their already poor republics, and all because the Kremlin sucks everything out of them. So something big is coming, and despite all the efforts of the White House to save the Kremlin, The time is playing against Moscow, and I'm grateful for the unity of all people in different parts of the world who stand with Ukraine and who understand that the only working peace plan is to defeat and demilitarize Russia. Subscribe to witness that together. Also follow me on Instagram, X, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord. All the links you will find in the description of this video. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channels. That's an honor, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity to work more and to spread more truth about my beautiful country, Ukraine, and the danger that the Russian Federation imposes on all the world. Thank you once again for being friends of mine, friends of Ukraine. United we stand. Slava Ukraini!